This is Michael of MCM Design. You're looking at the multi-options board number 2 within my Ultimate Astrocades add-under console. It occurred to me recently that one could ask, why not use just one regular plug-in socket and one ZIF socket plus toggle switches and jumper wire sockets to give you all the options you described in your previous video using 4 sockets? That's a good question. I'm referring to these 4 sockets here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I forgot to mention the reason I wired those 4 sockets is so I can copy a machine language program into a second EEPROM. The ML program could be copied from a program loaded into a SRAM chip from cassette tape, or copied from a ML program that already exists in another EEPROM. Here's the dedication breakdown for the 3 standard plug-in sockets and 3 ZIF sockets. These 2 sockets here are used for the development of 8 KB low or high-res programs that execute in the cartridge slot. These 2 sockets here, when the jumper is at the 8K location, are decoded for 8002 FFFF hex program operation, normally used for high-res graphics. When the jumper is at the 5K location, the 2 sockets are decoded for 5002 CFFF hex program operation, normally used for low-res graphics. The Blu-ray basic cartridge could also be used here. These 2 32-pin sockets here are decoded also for 8002 FFFF hex low or high-res program operation, with the intent to be saved in a 256 KB flash memory chip. The programs will be callable using a low or high-res menu or directly using the low or high-res MLM software. Now there is a 32 KB EEPROM installed in the high-res ROM socket. The ROM toggle is already flipped at bank 0. There is also a 32 KB EEPROM programmed with 4 low-res Astrocade games in the 6 2K ZIF socket. Dip switches 3 and 4 are on, pointing to bank 00, which is bank 0. The 6K 2K toggle is flipped at 6K, which is 6000 hex. It's time to play around with board number 2. When I switch on dip switch number 1, the low-res ROM will be disabled. You may see a system crash or the high-res ROM executing. Let's see what happens. Switching on dip switch number 1. Got a system crash. Pressing the reset button. This is a simple high-res graphics from the high-res ROM bank 0. Now I'll flip the high-res toggle to bank 1 and press the reset button. Switching the toggle to bank 1, pressing reset. Now you see high-res graphics from the high-res ROM bank number 1. When I switch off dip switch number 1 and press reset, you will see the low-res ROM back online. Switching off number 1, pressing reset. The low-res menu is now back online. Now I'm going to play with the EEPROM, the 32 KB EEPROM in the 6K 2K multi-card socket. Dip switches 3 and 4 are set to bank 0 already. switches 3 and 4 are set to bank 0. I'll flip the toggle to 2K, which is the 2000 hex cartridge slot. Watch what happens. Flipping the toggle to 2K, press and reset. Launcher is on the menu. Now I'm going to switch numbers 3 and 4 to bank 01. Bank 01 is set. Press and reset. Astro Battle is on the menu. I'm going to switch number 3 and 4 to 10. Bank 10. Press and reset. Now Galactic Invasion is on the menu. Finally, I'm going to switch number 3 and 4 to the last bank, bank 11. Bank 11 is set. Solar Conqueror is now on the menu. As you can see, this 32 KB EEPROM socket is multi-carded. It's programmed with 4 up to 8 KB low-res Astrocade programs. Now I'm going to flip the 6K, 2K toggle back to 6K, which is 6000 hex. Press and reset. Now I'm back to the original low-res menu. Now there is a 32 KB SRAM static RAM chip installed in the 5K SRAM socket. A jumper wire is inserted in the 5K location, which means the SRAM is decoded for 5000 to CFFFF hex operation. The wire jumper was relocated from 8000 to 5000 hex. I have loaded my low-res machine language Lost Defender demo into user SRAM 5000 hex and higher. I have lost my documentation for this demo, which exists only on a 40-year-old cassette tape. The tape data was loaded into SRAM using the AstroBasic cassette tape interface. Then there was a cartridge swap with Fiddler's MLM. Apparently the program execution begins at 6E36. 6E36. Here's the Lost Defender demo. This demo has never been seen publicly until now in December 2024. The demo has little game action, but note that the moving terrain is superior to any other similar Astrocade game that was created. Like I said, there's not much to this game with regard to action. I can control the plane up and down, or I can change direction like that, or I can move around the screen. That's about it, but I do like that moving terrain. It's pretty sharp. There is now a 256 KB flash memory chip in the 32-pin ZIF socket, right here. There is also a 32 KB EEPROM in the multi-carded ZIF socket, right there. DIP switches 3 and 4 are set to bank 1-1, which is the number 3 in binary. Bank 3 is selected for the EEPROM. The machine language program in Bank 3 is needed. It's necessary. It is a low-res menu setup program necessary because the onboard Astrocade power-up routine looks for a Sentinel of 55 hex or C3 hex at the cartridge slot 2000 hex address. If the power-up routine sees 55 hex at address 2000 hex, then it knows there is a cartridge in the slot that wants to utilize the low-res menu and can process the cartridge menu request accordingly. You are now going to see 8 high-res or low-res machine language graphic programs within the 256 KB flash memory chip executed from a low-res menu. This chip has 8 32 KB banks, all of which are addressed 8000 to FFFF hex. Each bank is software selectable. When I flip the 6K 2K multi-card toggle to the 2000 hex position, I will be able to select any of the 8 programs from a low-res menu. I'm going to switch that toggle to 2000 hex. Notice the order of the onboard program listings. Gunfight first, checkmate second. Now they're on the bottom. I intentionally rearranged the listing, the order of the listing for checkmate, gunfight, scribbling, and calculator. Program 1 is a minimal high-res setup which will just display the high-res map momentarily, then fill it with 3 color areas. There's a momentary high-res map filled in with 3 colors. Program number 2 is a test pattern variation number 3. Program number 3 is a graphics variation from the multi-pager. Program number 4 is a repetition of vertical stripes in 2 different color forms. Hopefully you can see the very narrow vertical stripes in both color forms. Selection number 5 is just some more demos. Now you get a different colored menu, different menu title, choose a demo with a different character string on the bottom of the menu. MCM Design 2024. Program number 1 is initially a display of some vertical bars until a screen interrupt executes. Wait for the screen interrupt, major change coming. There, the screen interrupt has just executed. Quite a difference. selection number 5. Program number 2 is an enlargement, a low-res test pattern by Fiddlers with the character string low resolution added. Program number 3 is a 256 color program. Perhaps you've seen this before, maybe a variation of it. The last program is just a character string acknowledgement by me. It's in low res. Might help if I push the right button. Basically shows the chip number, a little chip data info, plus some acknowledgement by me. Okay, if I turn that toggle back to 6000 hex, I get the original low-res menu. I removed the EEPROM and flash memory chips. Now I installed a 32 KB SRAM chip in the 8000 hex socket here. The 8K jumper is still in place. Here's the jumper in the 8000 hex location. The write protect switch is off, so I can write bytes to the SRAM chip. Here's the write protect switch. It's in the off position. Now I'm going to play around with Fiddler's MLM and my upgraded high-res MLM. I wanted to give you a memory breakdown for the Astrocade before I started playing with my MLM software. In the normal low resolution mode, there is an onboard 8KB ROM chip addressed 0 to 1 FFF hexadecimal. The cartridge slot is addressed 2000 to 3 FFF. The low-res screen RAM is mapped 4K bytes at 4000 to 4 FFF, and there is user expansion at 5000 to FFFF. For high-res resolution, the high-res screen RAM is mapped 16K bytes beginning at 4000 to 7 FFF. User expansion begins at 8000 hex. In the remainder of this video, I'm going to play around with the low-res MLM and the high-res MLM. I also would like to present a very simple introduction to assembly and machine language programming. This is Fiddler's Machine Language Manager, sometimes called MLM. You may see this MLM on Gambit's Ultimulti or the Backbit hardware. It's available on MAME's Astrocade emulation. You may see it on eBay. It normally comes with a keypad overlay. The overlay fits right on top of the Astrocade built-in keypad. Remember that SRAM chip I just installed at 8000 hex? RAM is short for random access memory, which means I can access the chip to read its data or change its data. I'm going to use MLM to access that SRAM chip and read its first 8 data bytes beginning at address 8000 hex. going to enter 8000. Press the address button. Press the list button. Each 2-digit number represents 1 data byte in memory. The data byte at address 8000 is 02. The data byte at address 8007 is 00. This byte follows the data byte 10. Now I'll list 2 more lines of data bytes. The data byte at 8008 is EE. The data byte at 8000F is E0. The data byte at 8010 is D3, D as in dog, D3. The data byte at 8001F is 14. The 4-digit numbers on the left are called hexadecimal numbers, which is the way memory addresses are described. Actually, a 1 or more digit is a hexadecimal number. Hex numbers can be followed by a capital H or preceded by a $ in documentation. What you are looking at now is scrambled RAM data bytes that occur at power up. Now I can change some of this data. Watch this. I'm going to enter 8000. Press address. And I'll enter the byte 33. I'll write that 8 times by pressing write 8 times. Now I'll list 8000 hex again. Okay, I just wrote 8 bytes beginning at 8000 hex. All 8 bytes are 33. If I flip the toggle switch on for write protection, then the data bytes can no longer be changed. I'll flip that write switch to the on position. Now I'm going to try writing some bytes at 8000 hex again. Let's see, I'll write 44. And I'll try to write 4 bytes. Okay, I wrote the 4 bytes. I'm going to list 8000 again. As you can see, I tried to write 4 bytes beginning at 8000 hex, and that didn't happen. So now I'm going to turn the write protect switch back off. $8,000 hex. Now I'll write some other bytes here. I'll write data byte BB. I'll write it 5 times. Okay, I'll list 8000 hex again. List it. Okay. As you can see, at 8000 hex, I wrote BBBBB 5 times. You're looking at a simple graphic program. In the center are 4 Z80 instructions, which are sometimes referred to as Z80 mnemonics. A mnemonic is essentially an abbreviated way to help a programmer understand what an instruction is accomplishing. When programming using Z80 assembly language, the programmer enters abbreviated instructions like these so the assembler can read and interpret the program and generate the appropriate Z80 machine code, sometimes called opcodes. When programming using machine language, the programmer starts off with the mnemonics, but because there is no assembler, the programmer must also provide the machine code. MLM is a tedious way to write bytes of data into RAM. Assembly language is user-friendly and is the preferred choice over programming in machine language. The program you are looking at ends with a halt instruction, which will force the Z80 to execute no-ops non-stop if, and I repeat if, you will proceed the halt instruction with a DI instruction, a disable interrupts instruction. So I have a 4 instruction program here. The operational codes are on the left. I'm going to load this program beginning at 8000 hex, and simply put, this short program is going to map the screen RAM in high res and then halt. Okay, I already wrote those 6 bytes of machine code into that SRAM chip at 8000 hex. I'm going to call this ML routine at 8000 hex. What do you think will happen when I call this routine? Let's find out. The screen is now mapped in high res. The MLM program is no longer running. It's no longer running. The Z80 is now running hundreds of no-op instructions non-stop. How do I get back to MLM? Simply press the reset to return to MLM. There you go. Here's one more simple graphic program which is similar to the previous program. Now at address 8005 hex, the halt instruction is replaced with a jump instruction. The jump is to address 2000 hex, which is the cartridge slot where the MLM program is running. Notice the 3-byte opcode at 8005 hex. The address 2000 is part of the 3-byte opcode. The hex number 2000 is included with a swapped format. That is, the low order byte 00 in the opcode appears first, followed by the high order byte 20. I already wrote those 8 bytes of Z80 code at 8000 hex in that SRAM chip. I'm ready to call this program at 8000 hex. What do you think will happen when I call this program? Let's find out. The custom address data chips map the screen RAM into high res. You can see scrambled high-res pixels at the lower 3/4 of the screen. Remember, high-res maps 16 kbytes at 4000 to 7 FFF hex. Low-res maps 4 kbytes at 4000 to 4 FFF hex. When the program jumped to 2000 hex, the low-res MLM was executed, and MLM is still running. It's running on the top 1/4 of the high-res map. High-res maps 80 bytes per line, low-res maps 40 bytes per line. What you are seeing is the MLM graphics being chopped up. Every other graphic line appears on the right side of the screen. On the left side, you can just barely make out a portion of those 8 bytes I wrote to that SRAM at 8000 hex. Fiddler's MLM user manual is archived at battlealley.com. After I complete my Astrocade high-res hardware projects, I plan to continue my machine language programming tutorial series called An In-Depth Look At. The tutorial is also at battlealley.com. I think there are about 7 lessons there now.